So let's continue. Now, number 3. First of all, what do you have to do here? First of all, you will look at the number line and you will see how many dash or how many jump between each two integers. Let's take the easier one, which is between 0 and 1. What do you have to do? You will say 1, 2, 3, 4, up to I reach 1. So that's mean I have 4 jumps. Then I will say the difference between 1 and 0 is 1 over 4. So I'm jumping now with 1 over 4. So each jump, its value is 1 over 4. So now I have it here as 1 over 4, the first jump. The second jump, I have 2 over 4. The third one, I have 3 over 4. And the last one, 1. I can say you can add 1. You can add 1 over 4, or you can jump by 1 over 4, counting by 1 over 4. This is the first step. Now the second step is, smart for the fraction here is half. How can I know where is half? It's not what 1 over 4, and it's not written as 1 over 4 or 2 over 4 or 3 over 4. Teacher told me that if you have a fraction and you jump by fourth, so I want you now to write the fraction with a denominator of 4. Now, how you will make the 2 to be 4? You will multiply.
Multiply it by 2.
Bravo. You will multiply by 2 up and down. Then 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So 1 over 2 is equivalent to 2 over 4. So that's mean when I want to jump, I will say 1 over 4, then 2 over 4. So at this place here, you have 2 over 4 or 1 over 2.
Teacher, and after 3 over 4 will be 1. Then after the 1, we will make 1 over 4, 2
1 and 1 over 4. Yes, 1 and 1 over 4. You will skip counting by 1 over 4.
I mean, teacher, after the 1, we will make another 1 up. We will make the numbers again.
Yes, yes. But here, because half is between 0 and 1, I will go to 0 and 1. Here you have 1 and 1 over 4. Here you have 1 and 2 over 4. 1 and 3 over 4. Then 2. Here you have like negative 1 and 1 over 4. Negative 1 and 2 over 4, and so on.
Oh, just we will add 1 beside.
Yeah.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes.
If we multiply it and the answer is 2 out of 4, when we look on the list and there is 2 on 4, we could count it as 1 over 2 and 2 over 4.
You will write it as, no, you skip counting by 1 over 4. When you reach 2 over 4, you will stop here because 2 over 4 is equivalent to 1 over 2. What's this? Now, this one here. State whether the numbers are on the same or opposite side of 0. How do you know? You will draw now the number line. Then you will write the 0 in the middle. Then after that, you will say negative 1.38. Is that above 0 or below 0? Or is it to the right or to the left? grade 6?
What, teacher?
Negative 1.38. Is it to the right or to the left of 0?
To the right.
No, to the left.
To the left of negative.
And 2.9. It's positive.
It's
so it
on
will
the
be
right.
on the right. Bravo. So are they on the same side or opposite side?
Opposite side.
Opposite side.
Opposite.
The second one, negative 3, 9 over 10. Is it to the right or to the left?
Left.
To the left. And negative 0.99?
It's also to the left.
To the left. So are they on the opposite or the same side?
The same.
The same.
The same.
Bravo.
The same.
The last one, 5 over 6. So before that,
It's on the right,
girls,
teacher.
before we continue, just an easier one. If the sign are the same, so that means they are on the same side. If the signs are opposite, one is negative and one is positive, you will say they are opposite. Here, if the sign one is positive and one is negative, so are they in the same or they are opposite?
They are opposite.
Bravo. They are
Teacher,
opposite.
if there was a 0, and 5. Teacher, I didn't understand. Can you repeat? Teacher, the lesson is very easy. Yeah, it's really, really too easy. Like, I don't know who was not understanding.
Miss, if the sign are the same, the sign like negative, negative, you will say same side. If the sign are opposite, like one is positive, one is negative, you will say they are on the opposite side.
Yeah, so it's same.
Yeah.
But if the sign is not the same, they are opposite, yes?
Sorry?
If they are opposite, if they are like
Opposite sign,
the other one is
you will say that they are opposite sides. Yeah. Now look at number 15 here. In number 15, you have a number line, and there's a letter written like A, B, C, and D. And they ask you now what is the number that is represented by point A. Then they ask you, after you find the number, you want now to tell me or to write it in a decimal and as a fraction. Now the first step, before to see which is the number, you have to know that how it's jumped. Look at 0 and 1. Let's see how jumps we have. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So how many jump between 0 and 1? You have 4. So that means you are still counting by 1 over 4.
1 over 4.
Okay, but the numbers here are written as a decimal. So now you will write 1 over 4 as a decimal by dividing 1 over 4, decimal point, 8 to 25.
It's 0.25.
So it will be 0.25, exactly. So now what do I have to do next? I have now to jump by 0.25. 0. The next one will be the next one will be 0.25 because you are jumping by 0.25. Then 0.5.
Yes.
Then 0.5 plus 0.25 will be what?
Plus, again, teacher?
0.5 plus 0.50.
Teacher, is equal to 50.
Yeah.
Like we're counting by 25.
Yeah, then 0.5 plus 0.25, it will be 0.75. Plus 0.5, it will be 1. Then plus 0.5, it will be 1.25. 1 plus 0.25, it's 1.25. Then next, to the opposite, you will write the same numbers but with the negative sign. Like here, 0.25, negative 0.25, negative 0.5, 0.5, negative 0.75, here we write negative 0.75. Then 1, negative 1, 1.25, here we write negative 1.25. So now I represent all the numbers now. Yalla, now number 16. Point B. Where's point B? It's point what?
Shall you first point 0.75.
Let's ask.
0.75. 0.75.
Just a minute. I will ask Sana. Where's Sana? Sorry, just a minute. What's Sana?
Teacher, there is no Sana in our class.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just calling at another. Sham, where is Sham?
Teacher, I'm here.
Yes, Sham. Sham, point B. It's
okay.
How it's written. What's the number that represented by point B?
0.75.
0.75. Now I want you now to write it as a fraction in the simplest form. How you write as a fraction in the simplest form? What do you have to do? As we said in the last semester, what do you have to do? You write as 75 over what?
Over 10.
Over 100.
Yeah, I mean 100.
Then next, how you will simplify it? What is the common factor that can be divided by 75 and 100? Let's try 25.
Yes.
Yeah, divide by 25, divide by 25. Then next, 75 divided by 25 is?
It is
3. 100 divided by 25? 4. So you write point B as fraction and as decimal. Thank you, Sham. Tulip?
Tulip is not in the school. Not in the meeting.
Okay. So
Teacher, I'm sorry, I didn't answer.
Now,
Wasan.
Wait. Wasan? Wasan? Yes, Wasan. What did you solve with grade 17, which is point C, and 18? Yes, I want you to solve number 18. 18. What is the number that's represented by 8D? It's what? Sorry? How will you get it? Where's letter D? This is D. What is the number that's represented down? Negative 1.25. Then negative 1.25. How we write as a fraction? You will say negative 1 and what? Okay, Wasan, thank you. Yara.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, Yara.
Yes, teacher. Yara.
Yara, yeah. Negative 1. How you write 25 as a fraction? What do you have to say?
25 as a fraction?
Yes.
Okay, we will put 25 over 100.
Bravo. It will be 25 over 100. Then?
And then we will divide it by 25.
Bravo. You will simplify it by dividing it by 25 by 25. Then it's negative 1 and?
1 over 4.
Bravo. It's come as negative 1 and 1 over 4. Thank you so much, Yara.
No problem. Teacher, I'm sorry. Teacher, teacher, 1 over 4 is equals to 5 over 4.
Yeah, but I want here to write in the simplest form. The simplest form must be like this. If you write it as negative 5 over 4, this will not be the simplest form. Okay. Now, is there anyone have any question?
Teacher, can I answer? I'm Sama. No.
Okay, I will let us say, but I will when your turn is coming. But I want, if you didn't have any question, I will go to the next lesson.
Teacher, it is negative, so we will not make anything. Teacher, can we do the homework?
No, miss, I will go to the new lesson today because we have it's supposed to start a new lesson. The homework, you will do it and you will put the answers on the classroom. Yeah. Now, let's start our new lesson in chapter 3, lesson 4, which talking about how to compare and order the rational numbers. All of you, please, I want you to open your book, page 157. So today we're gonna learn how can we compare and order the rational numbers. Now, rational numbers, they are decimals, fractions, positive and negative. So now, when we want to compare between them, remember that if you have positive and negative, the positive is greater. But if you have negative and negative, you will see which one is greater. Like, I will give you examples in order to understand. Like, if you have half and negative 1 over 5, which is greater? It is the positive one, is it right? So which is greater?
Yeah, the positive, yeah.
The positive one is the greater one. Now, if you have half or negative half and negative 1 over 5, which is greater? What do you have to do? First of all, compare between them without the sign. Which is greater, 1 over 2 or 1 over 5?
1 over 5.
1 over 2. We said that if the denominator, the numbers within the denominator will be greater. So we'll have over half is the greater. Yes. Now, but if you have negative, when you have negative sign, you will switch the sign. So here it's greater, it will be less. So negative half will be less than negative 1 over 5. As we said before, if you compare between negative 2 and negative 5, you will say 5 is greater than 2. So it comes like this. Then you will change the sign to come like this. It will now negative 2 is greater than negative 5. Did you remember now when you compare integers? Here we have to do the same, but now with the fractions and decimals.
Negative 1 over 5 is bigger than negative 1 over 2. Because it's the same new.
Miss, 1 over 2 is greater than 1 over 5. Is it right?
Yeah.
Now, when you have negative sign in both numbers, you have to switch it.
But teacher, you hear negative 2 is bigger than negative 5.
Yes, because we said that 2 is less than 5. Then you will switch the sign because we have negative.
Teacher, can you give us another example?
Yeah, I will give you just a minute, please.
Teacher, but now you said that the 1 over 5. Teacher, in a place you said that this is bigger, and then in the pink line, see what did you do? And in the green line, see what did you do?
Mr. CJ, I will give you more examples. For the first thing, I will just remind you to compare between positive and negative, and negative and negative. Every positive number is greater than the negative, And if you have negative, just compare between the numbers after with dropping the sign, then switch the sign. Now, what do we have to do if you have decimals like -0.2 and -0.5? First of all, you will write them without the sign. Which is greater, 0.2 or 0.5? Which is greater, 0.2 or 0.5? Greater. Wait. I'm talking about the positive numbers. Grade 6. 0.5 is greater than 0.2. But when you leave the reading and rejoin. But if you have now the negative sign, you will switch the greater sign. So it comes like -0.2 is greater than -0.5. Is it clear?
Yes.
Fine. Now, if you have...
Teacher, why 0.5 is because I left and rejoin. Can you repeat?
0.5 is greater than 0.2. But if we have negative, you have to switch the sign.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Now, this is, so we talk about the integers, we talk about the decimals, we talk about the fractions. But what do we have to do if we have like 1/2 and 0.25 decimals and fractions? Did you remember? We said that we have to write them in common way. Both of them are decimals or both of them are fractions. Like 1/2, it's -0.5. But after dividing 1/2, it's 0.5. Comparing with -0.25. So in order to compare between them, make them as decimal or as a fraction, as you want. Then compare. Which is greater? 0.5. Wait, I'm talking. It's just a minute. 0.5 and 0.25. 0.5 and 0.25. Which is greater? 0.5. So up, because we have negative sign, you will switch the sign.
Yes. No, teacher, here my negative 0.5.
Sorry?
Teacher, negative 0.2 is less than 0.5.
Okay. Mahia, 0.25
But
is
you write up that negative 0.2 is greater than 0.5. Yeah, because negative we switch.
If you have negative, you will switch.
Yeah. Negative 0.2. It's greater because it's nearest to the.
Exactly, nearest to 0. Bravo.
I'm sorry for this thing, but if it was negative and the positive.
The positive is greater without looking to the number. Yeah. Now let's start here. The table shows the average December temperature in the 5 United States cities. Which city has the greater average December temperature? Indianapolis or Boise? Here you have two ways. The first way, use the number line, and the second way, as I did before. The number line, like here we have -1. I want to compare between -1 and -0.6. So what do you have to do? Just you will represent them on the number line. You will say this is -1. And then I want to represent -0.6. Let's say that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, it means I'm jumping with 0.2. So 0, -0.2, -0.4, -0.6. So here is -0.6. and here is -1. Now then, you will say then, as you move to the right or to the left or of the horizontal line, the numbers become greater. As we move to the right, okay, when you go to the right, the numbers become greater. That's why 3 is greater than 1, 0 is greater than -1. And -0.6, is it to the right or to the left of -1?
To the right.
To the right, bravo.
Right. To the right.
So since -0.6 is to the right of -1, so that's mean -1, oh sorry, -0.6 is greater than -1. So the temperature of the city, that's whose temperature? Oh, its temperature is to the right, is an Indian office. This is the first way using the number line. You have to represent the numbers in the number line, then you will compare between them. The second way, which we call it the place value way, that if you have it like, just a minute here, like -0.6 comparing with -1, you will write the numbers without the negative sign as 0.6 and 1. Then you will say, which is greater, 0.6 or 1? 1. 1 is greater than 0.6, but greater than 0.6. Yeah, 1 is greater. But when it's negative, you will switch the sign. That's why -0.6 is greater than -1. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here in this example, we compared integer with decimal. Now, in this example here, we have 2 fractions, and we're gonna now compare between them. You have negative, like the elevations of objects found at a dig site are recorded in the table. Which object was found at the lower elevation, the fossil of the shell or the fossil of the fish? The fossil of the shell is -3.5 compared with the fossil of the fish, which is -3 and 1/4. I told you that the first step in order to compare between any 2 fractions, make them have the same denominator. The denominator here is 2 and the denominator here is 4. How you will make them have the same denominator? What do you have to do? Can you make 2 to be 4?
We're gonna multiply the denominator of the here. 1 out of 2.
Bravo.
Yeah.
You
We're
multiply
gonna
it by
multiply
2.
the
Yeah.
2.
So
Multiply 2 equals 4. 2 out of 4.
So you will multiply here by 2 and up by 2. So it comes like -3 and 2/4. And here keep it as -3 and 1/4. Then next, I have it as -3 and 2/4 comparing with -3 and 1/4. I have 2 negatives. What do I have to do? The first step, write the numbers without the negative. 3 and 2/4 comparing with 3 and 1/4.
And 1 out of 4.
Which is greater? Look at them here. Which is greater? 2/4 or 1/4?
3 and 1/4.
In the positive base. In grade 6.
Yes, and 1 is positive is 3 to.
Bravo. To the positive, they are 3 and 2/4. But when I come back to the negative, I will switch.
It will be 3
The sign. So -3 and 2/4 or -3 and half is less than -3 and 1/4. Is it clear?
Yes.
What is the fossil that is found at the lower elevation? Shell or
It's 3
fish? which is the shell. Yeah. So the shell, it's found in the elevation that's lower than the fish. So now, up to now, we compared between integer and decimals. In this example, we compare between integers and, two decimal and two fractions. Now, did you finish writing?
Teacher, wait a minute.
Okay.
Why here in the step 1, why you made the negative 3, 1 out of 4 equals negative 3, 1 out of 4.
You know, just keep them as it is, because they are the numerators is 4.
Teacher, and what we write in 2, negative 2 and 4 is what? Then 1 out of negative 1 out of 4.
In a sense, negative 2 over 4 is less than.
And I wrote the second one is less.
Yeah, so
I wrote the second one less.
Did you finish writing?
No.
Yalla, hurry up. Now, you finish? Hurry up, girls.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in this example, we're gonna now compare decimal with a fraction. Okay, so what do we have to do? As I told you before, you can write them as a fractions and then compare between them, or you can write them as a decimals and compare between them. Let's write it as a fractions first, then we will write it as a decimal. The first step here, negative 0.1. Rand, negative 0.1. How can you write it as a fraction?
We'll put 1 out of 10.
Bravo, it's negative 1 out of 10. Look at the second one. Here you have negative 4 and over 5. I told you when you want to compare between them as a fractions, you have to make them have the same denominator. So how can you make 5 to be 10?
Multiply by 2 and it will be 8 out of 10.
Bravo, you multiply by 2. So it comes as negative 8. Yeah, sure, you can. So it comes as negative 8 over 10. Now, what do we have here? We have negative 1 over 10